How can you upgrade your material knowledge? Wow, you're asking the question which is a crux of my personality. Okay, I'll give you the secret sauce of how to become a material loving person or how to enhance your knowledge in terms of uh, prevalent products into the market. Simple formula: 3 vendors a day, 60 a month, 720 a year. I repeat, 3 vendors a day, 60 a month, and 720 a year. Always schedule one vendor hour in your daily diary. Schedule 1 hour for vendor meets. Rule of 20 20 20. 20 minutes a vendor, not more than 20 minutes per vendor at all. Not at all. 20 minutes per vendor, 3 vendors a day, 60 a month, 720 a year. How many product categories can you assume could be possible in the entire gamut of architectural and interior building products? Not more than 1500 product categories. If you were to identify 4 to 5 market leaders out of across this 1500, and I'm sure you are not going to make use of all of it because you are very much into a niche project delivery, which could be your expertise either in hospitality interiors, or it could be in corporate interiors, or it could be in architectural segment, or you could be planners and designers, or you could be urban developers, or it could be an expert of your own particular field of architecture, and not doing everything together. But I'm giving you a macro look by and large. How could it be your maximum? What could be your product awareness kitty? And that could be not more than 1500 to 2000 product categories, and you have to identify, suppose, four um, market leaders also. Then the knowledge you can gather about each and every category subjects could be very well comprehended by just practicing consistently this 1 year of vendor meetings. You can upgrade. It's just that 20 minutes per meeting per vendor you have to give and schedule for yourself. And one uh, 3 hours self training on materials, whatever you have gathered from the information gathered over this entire week, whichever subject you choose, gather the in depth knowledge from their e catalogs or the details that they have sent to you. Gather these details, deep dive into it only on one Saturday, self training on one subject, 3 hours, and that should enhance your technical knowledge about the materials and the entire prevalent market leaders about that particular product category. So in that 20 minutes, what how will you schedule your time again? Keep 5 minutes for knowing what is in it there for your current projects. Last 5 minutes to typically talk about, first hear them out for entire 15 minutes. Hear them out in terms of two parameters: PG. What is PG? One is per se what is in it for yourself for your current projects, and what is in it in general. Let them speak. What do they have in general? And then go into the specifics, as I have mentioned in my earlier video. What could be the specific things, especially what could be the limitations in availing their that particular product. Could be in sizes, and could be in availability, could be in fixing details, or could be XYZ. So you have to understand the USP of the product as well as the general uh, s- uh, p- properties of the product, and the bespoke how can applications of that product, how can you explore that material in a different non-typical application. So those are the things that you have to gather from within, from the vendor, from within that 15 minutes. And last 5 minutes, keep it to contextual to the current project requirement if you have any. If you do not have, just conclude it by asking them the samples and the product catalogs, not in terms of only just the pages and the booklets. No, Ask them the proper master sample catalogs. If the product category is very interesting and very luxurious, and it could be high end, ask them on, if you're not a very leading practice, and they have not, if they have not found you, and if you have called them and understand, some when they might be hesitant to give you out, because the limited product sample catalogs are manufactured by the parent manufacturers also. So they could be hesitant, but assure the salesperson who's come to you that you are ready to buy that product master catalog, and they will be easily more than happy to give you that, that product catalog for 3,000, 4,000 rupees, if it's that valuable for you. But usually we architects get it for free, the sample catalogs. Gather two sets of them. Please do not forget, gather two sets of them, because when you are in a hurry shurry to finish the look and feel stage of your project, and when you are actually sitting to make the mood board, having asked the samples well in advance, having followed up with them for 3 to 4 days, sometimes the samples do not arrive in time, because that is where always typically the vendors fail to deliver samples on time, and then our timelines and project deliveries get affected. So what you do then is you um, uh, first hand only you ask two sets of master catalogs. One, you keep it for your master library, and do not let your colleagues or yourself tamper it in terms of urgency of samples. We have this tendency to pull out the samples from the master catalogs and then put it under the mood board, and then but then that will screw up your entire master library, and do not have that kind of entertain that kind of practice. Rather, call in first and only two sets of product master catalogs, and then nomenclature it and keep it safe in your library, and only even in case of urgency, there is only one master catalog that you are tampering, in case if you do not get the sample in time despite of your prior calling ins. So WIIP, WPI, what is in it, WIIG in general and in project specific, and this will help you build up your material library in house to the fullest extent, because identify the typical items going into your project verticals. You may be catering to a typical kind of a project, or if whatever it could be, it couldn't be more than 5 to 6 or 8 different verticals: urban designing, healthcare, hospitality, corporate interiors, institutional projects, or maybe school buildings, or and then you have your quantity surveyor will have a list of the typical finishing products, and especially in hospitality interiors you have to match the concept designers thing. So there you will have a wide kitty. So even if you follow one hospitality interior module, you will build up the categories that is required and that goes typically in your product specifications, and identify those categories and start identifying that which are the typical things that you put it in the mood board. Everything cannot be put on the mood board, and the things that you require often to build up your mood boards are the categories which are needed to be highlighted as a red alert marks, and which are needed to be prioritized in terms of gathering the master product catalogs. So just follow the format, follow the FFE format, follow the schedule of finishes practiced in the hospitality interiors, and you will get to know that which are the typical categories those are been asked in terms of schedule of finishes, and what are the typical categories which are generally required by the FFE specialist, and you will identify those categories and have your library equipped with those categories leading brands, and you would be good to go in terms of having a profound material library which would be self sufficient for your organization, and you will not have any dependency for other from other vendors, even if they well and good. Of course we do have the dependency in terms of samples, because that is our master library, but I would say it will help you to build in your look and stage of the um, project. It will help you to complete your look and feel stage of the project very fast and within your desired stipulated time. So what I wish to say here is, uh, focus on the categories which are typically going into the mood board furnishings, and then have it. I would say few of them. See, tiles we cannot usually, we will have to call in the sample and have a cut piece of the tile. So these days tile manufacturers have started making their own product catalogs also. So they already have the product catalogs of equipped with 4 by 4 samples or 6 inches by 6 samples. Ask for them. Not many leaders do provide you, but ask for them, they will provide you. People like Kajaria do have their own head office, and then they supply. They have so many, their marketing organization is very well equipped, so they also give you um, the sample support very fast, and 6 inches by 6 inches they just have it cut into in their showroom and then have it supplied to you, so that becomes easy for you. Have the like people like Ambani's, they have the master product catalogs ready with them, so you can pull it out from them and then give it to. Ask for them. Unless you ask, people will not give you. The sales representatives will just embark a meeting presence with you and say that okay, I have finished so many architects visits, and he'll showcase, he'll enhance his work, um, daily work routine and portfolios, and he will enhance the number of architects for himself, but we will ultimately not have sample in hand in time whenever we desire, despite of knowing that this product is perfectly going well with my design and the concept, and this is the product that I should be specifying, but I don't have the sample. My deliverables of design do not permit me, timelines do not permit me to extend this look and feel beyond to today, and I don't have the sample in hand. And then my what my mood board represents is something very closest matching to what I have desired, and then the deviation and the complete dilution of the design intent starts getting uh, commenced right at this mood board making stage itself, which is not doable as an architect at all. Our look and feel should not get compromised, whatever desired look and feel from our end at least. Let it be because of the product not being in the market, let it come, let it happen at the end of the project stage of execution from the vendors, from the contractors. It's not available, or it's not, it's obsolete now, this design is not there. So again, this point is again very valid. You should confirm from the vendor in the very first that 15 minutes only, that what is the shelf life of your product availability. What is the shelf life of your product availability? That means that up till how many years this designs would be prevalent with you in volumes, not in just because many of the designs, you see, they are available only for 2 to 3 years. For tiles it is 3 years, for fabrics it is 3 years. People go every the good fabric suppliers, they visit Italy, they visit the source foreign spaces places, well, and they bring in every year the new stuff, every other new stuff, and then they stock limited. They stock limited. Of course, they have huge godowns in Vivendi, and they have huge godowns wherever possible at outside the taxation structure places, but then they do not have the reach when we want it. And so looking at the project life cycle, our project, what typology our project is, hospitality interiors will go on till 2 years, corporate interiors will get finished within 4 to 6 months, residential interiors will get finished in 6 months, but your architectural project will go on for like another 2 years, 3 years life cycle, and that is when your prescribed stone, your prescribed tile, your prescribed whatever you call it, paver block is not available. What will you do then? The shape of that product, the product category is available, but that particular design is obsolete, and the new designs have come in. So this is where the goof up happens from our designing specification or prescription time, that we do not know, uh, uh, innocently not being ignorant about the shelf life of the product, we goof up specifying. We go as per the aesthetics, we go as per the technicalities, but we do not go as per the availability of the product, and which is very important aspect for us to know, that what product is typically, when it is invented or when it is introduced into the market, and what is going to be the shelf life. Is it an indigenous manufacturing? If it is an indigenous manufacturing, yes, there are possibilities. With the same kind of shade number, we can have it produced with well factored lead time. But if it is an imported product, no chance that we are, I mean, no guarantee that we would be able to get that thing back. So this is very, very, very important point, that we must know WIIP, WIIG, and what is the shelf life. What is the shelf life of the product in terms of availability, in terms of sustainability. Of course, it is important to know that okay, a product can sustain, but in terms of design range and in terms of availability, in terms of that particular shade availability also, we have to be very careful, not only just in perspective of sustainability or the actual life of the product. Having subjected that product to different climatological conditions, what is its contextual climatic response? Contextual climatic response is very much important. For a material or a product, context could not be the site surroundings, etc., etc. For it, it is just adjacent other material. What is it? How is it going to behave when it is going to be laid besides so and so product? How is it going to behave when it is going to be pasted on a substrate? How is it going to behave when it is subjected to the harsh um, tool fixing or fixing detail? How is it going to behave when it is going to be subjected to the machineries? How is it going to behave when it is getting cut? How is it going to behave when it is getting screwed? How it is how is it behaving when it is getting painted or protected in terms of surface wear and tear? How is it going to perform if there's going to be a huge amount of footfall? How is it going to behave when there is going to be vehicular footfall or vehicular load, or what are the point loads that can break the product, or what are the uh, limitations in terms of strength parameters? Every product will have, of course, their different characteristics, but out of that 7 8 different technical specifications also, we should know that based on the application, what are the three main properties that will define the character of our product per se, that what particular application in that project, per se, I repeat, that particular application. Somewhere Mohs hardness and may not be important for understanding or for selecting the tile, but somewhere it becomes very critical to understand, to prescribe the tile. We'll come to that. We'll explain that. I have explained in depth in my Tileopedia masterclass. But I'm just giving an instance. So somewhere some properties become plays a very significant role when it is subject to a typical kind of application or a particular kind of application, and whilst non-typical other applications, some properties may not be that despite of being very good in in that particular property, that may not be relevant to our application, and it becomes irrespective in terms of USP of that product. So it is we who have to understand the technicalities well and the application well in that kind of application well in that kind of you know product due diligence. So I guess I've covered all the points that we need to, how to build our library. We have to have master catalogs in place. We have to have loose samples. Yes, loose samples for all, in just loose samples, not as it is. Okay, it is not going to, it is going to just eat up your space, and in Bombay, places like Bombay, spaces are very expensive. So uh, ask them 6 inches by 6 inches or 4 inches by 4 inches cut samples. Okay, cut samples, ask them those. Especially gather the samples which are right from the etched steel, bespoke processings of the sample. Suppose if you are gathering the samples, loose samples, how should you go about loose samples? Identify the typical themes that you are practicing. First and foremost, understand um, what is the extent of proposition of that particular material or the product. By extent of proposition, you will understand, if it is, say, suppose it's a hard flooring and it's stone, you will understand that 85% of your flooring in a residential project, or in say in corporate interiors, 85% is your carpet, 15% is your hard flooring. So understand the extent, and then you will uh, be able to judge if a particular product is used in a floor plate as 85% of the component. Obviously that cannot be proposed with stark or loud in design. So whatever products and loose samples you are gathering, identify in two categories. One is if it is prescribed largely as a lighter theme, and one is if it is prescribed in an accentuated or accent manner. So if it is an accent manner, choose the shades. Do not have the all the samples from, like a tile will have, suppose a manufacturer will have suppose 100 shades in his master catalogs. Just choose what are your standard typical things and the standard typical application. So one is lighter theme, one is a darker theme. Darker theme में उसके product categories में you choose which ones you want, which are good as an accent, which are well balanced in creating an accent, and choose the lighter shades as cream to beige family or something which are typical applications which go. So choose wise two things: one is lighter shades, or one is typical application, one is the non-typical application or a feature element. So this is how you build up your loose samples. Not all master catalog is there with you, you can choose anything anywhere out of the entire kitty. Nobody is restricting you. You should be having time to go through it. But I'm just saying that whilst you have to be very judiciously taking, you have to be taking call very judiciously, sparingly. You will have to build up your loose sample library, because that is something which is going to be really, helpful to you whilst making the mood boards. So always be very wise in building up your own library. Always keep in mind the concept designers, especially specialized concept designers from abroad. They have and all the architects. We have elite choice. So just don't gather all the garish samples. Have a well balance. Where you should be ready with the typical things, especially that should be at least 50% of your library should be equipped with all your typical items, and 50%, or I would say 30 to 35%, should be your bespoke things. Bespoke things could be very helpful to have it, because that is going to add a punch into your mood board. You should or rather must have this kind of non-typical bespoke thing in your library. If that is available handy whilst making and finishing your look and feel stage, you would hit the nail. You would be really, you'll stand out, and your look and feel board will stand out in the entire presentation. And a client will be really happy, the contractor will be happy. They know exactly what do they have to furnish, and they will not be in the dilemma what is there, what is in, and they will not leave it up to their interpretations and visualizations and dreaming capacities that how is it the end product could be. Because even if given this the final finish onto the board, or say suppose if there is a bespoke design of a sofa that you have identified, and there is a if you just put a fabric or just a curtain, sure, also with that kind of uh, what kind of embroidery you're going to put on it, or what kind of patchwork, the stitching detail, now that defines the minutest detail. So you have to be ready with that kind of miniatures of the curtains, or miniatures of the bolsters, miniature of the pillow accents, or miniatures of the possible surface processings for the hard floorings. Possible surface processings. I'm telling you, you can't have all types of stones in your kitty. Maximum you can have 25 stones, or maximum you can have small pieces of, like 25 to 50 number of tiles. But what will you do? What are the possible processings over a hard surface or a soft surface? If you gather the processings, you are water tightening your library with the punches that you can create in your mood board, and that is it. Then you may just put a printed uh, printed board, or a photo paper, or just put a 3D view and put a small piece of raw veneer, and but put the processed veneer or a processed stone besides it. So the finishing, the punch, the hardness, the texture is well captured in your mood board. The depth of the grains, and the depth of the openness in the grains, and the depth of uh, the punches, the undulations, what depth it should go, the corrugations, the combing effect, the hone effect, the river washing effect, everything is there. You may not then it is okay if you don't have the exact color of that particular stone, but you have the thickness well mentioned, and you can always say that okay, this is the surface finish, and this refers so and so for the actual product finish. And so that can really complement your mood board and the look and feel detailings, and it becomes really handy. And it's just not for the look and enhancing the mood board presentation. Okay, it becomes when you go to the site, people who have not gone and visited sites, or who are not into the design and build organizations, may not feel understand the importance of the mood board onto the site board. But when a site is getting executed by itself by a PM at a remote place, and then this mood board helps them to actually bring the quality control into the project, because then that is the only master finish that they have to match it up and gather the quality from an executor or the contractor or the subcontractor. So this is very important. They consider the mood boards as the bible at the site, and though they preserve it so much as a controlled sample mood board, when you don't value your own product as a the mood board as our own product so much, but on the site and by the executors, it is immensely valued, and it is, believe you me, it is of real good. Because that one mood board, if it not I'm just saying, I'm a little bit digressing from the topic, but I'm just saying that if the mood board is not made with the right kind of, the samples are not stuck with the right kind of adhesives, then also it's a problem, because it doesn't last. It sometimes, the samples peel off just whilst being in the courier, or while traveling, while carrying it. And that kind of mood boards finishes are not acceptable or important. I mean, they just dilute defeat the purpose of making the mood board before it reaches the site. Because on the site they take special care to preserve the mood board, but otherwise also on site also it should not, because the site goes on for 6 months at least, 4 months at least, 2 years probably at least. Your mood board adhesives, the product should be stuck with good adhesives, so that it stays on the site up till the end of the execution. And this is what mood boards are usually. Color boards are ignored in our fashion. It's just an avoided element by the small practices. Of course, in big practices, it is considered as a deliverable, valuable deliverable. But in the small practices, we don't. But it helps really, the carpenter, the contractor, the executor, the PM on the site, and all the engineers, they value it a lot, because that is the only master piece. So it is essential that you have your mood board equipped with all kind of processings and finishing products at least. So yes, then what are non-typical things, usually not very difficult to procure from the market? Coming back to our original point, how to build the library. Stone samples are very difficult to get it, because stone vendors do not easily give you the stone samples. So have all kind of possible finishings processed on a stone, and build for four multiples at least per stone, so that because stone processings you should have, because stone vendors at least take 3 to 4 days to deliver you the right kind of sample, and especially processed stone samples you will not get. And typically mm, if we have to highlight, we don't like to use the stones as it is. If we are wanting a particular 3D effect on the stone, we will definitely have it processed or prescribe it in a non-typical way. We'll mention the processed stones. So have more of stone samples, have more of your cut piece style samples, And have more of your fabric samples handy, because those are not leather. Leather is also something which takes time. um, Handmade ceramics, um, well, handmade ceramics are not used everywhere, so but have your fabric samples ready, because they also take 2 days to reach it. And have your small curtain forms or shears curtains, or different type of embroidery, or what you can do in FF in terms of furnishings, what different kind of non-typical things you can do. Have those swatches ready, not the fabrics, because not only the fabrics. Fabrics, if got, well and good, but they are again going to vary based on the theme. But the stitches, the quality, the how you will have the bedridden bedrunner build, miniature of a bedrunner, or the kind of stitches that you will use in quilting, those kind of things which are non-typically generally noticed, but you want a quality aspect out of that execution, then it is better to have those kind of things readily handy available to you. um, some bespoke items like cork finishings, foam products, like cornices, and like um, otherwise ceilings and floorings are big items. They you may not have it, but stones, yeah, I told you the processed stones. The for the mosaic applications, you should have the theme based small miniature of handmade ceramics or the mosaics if possible. But that's not that doesn't go everywhere. But yes, if you're alert enough, and you are um, equipped with the resources, then please do identify which are the current trends in the ceramic or the tile industry, or the particular hard flooring industry, uh, practiced it abroad. The parent designs come from usually from Italy, and so be updated with that. And if, say, suppose, because this trends be in vogue at least for a year, and typically for 3 years in Asian countries, because those are percolated from there. 1 year Italy, and then 2 years, 3 years in India. 2 years, so 3 years of life. So that trend could be, because suppose subway has gotten invented in so subway tile comes as a prescription from a broad designer, then it gets so then that's when it's new. Within 6 months it comes into India, and then the Indian manufacturers start manufacturing it per se, depending upon the requirement, and then it gets localized in terms of, then next year it gets into the market, to into the showrooms of the dealers and distributors. So it takes time, but if you are aware that this is the kind of product it is available, so that time you should anticipate some kind of operational cost also for the samples. And when as soon as you identify a trend coming in any product category, try building up and gathering the samples from the manufacturers. I'm sure after this three vendors meeting and 60 a month and on so on, you will understand who are the market leaders who has good capacities and who are interested in serving the architects in sample support. So ask them, do you manufacture this? Can you, even if your project is not having that kind of specification, item specification, preempt, just anticipate and preempt for the samples for those kind of, because once that is going to be start building in as a trend, more likely that again now another 4 5 projects of the same vertical will have that kind of item specification in different other areas. So that time it would be required for you to have the samples, and that time you cannot afford wasting 15 days to calling in from that sample from abroad. So try and find out Asian equivalents, or possibly indigenous equivalents. Understand, identify the who are the market leaders for that particular category. Ask them to manufacture and give it, and pay for that 1 or 2 boxes. So say suppose one box has 10 pieces, at least you have the typical whites and blacks of that subway tiles with you. So as in when you then you go on prescribing, and I'm sure they'll give you the entire they give you the sample support, and on paid basis they do give you. So start anticipating the trends and building up your library. This helps a lot. I have build so all the bespoke thing. A good concept designer could be a we could be a very small entrepreneurial organization, could be a single person organization, but to be equipped with a material library is as good as being already equipped 24 by 7 with the surgery scalpels and the incision and the scissors and all to attend the emergency. And this becomes your uh, uh, life-saving support when you are encountering the concept designers visits just for a very little time, half a day or 1 day meeting. And if you're equipped with the samples, you have won the game, because then the approvals keeps on happening, this then this checklist, the approvals are signed off, and you close the look and feel and all the possible approvals, especially in the hospitality or the 5 star and the 7 star projects. So these were my bites on how to keep yourself abreast with the contemporary materials, or the how to build your material library. Thank you.